so yummy. All right, guys, thank you so much for sticking around. You are listening to Lip Smack in the podcast. And today we have the pleasure of speaking to Mr. Thomas T.J. Loftin. He is the author of Monetizing, Gentrification, and Building Black Ownership. I actually met Mr. Thomas T.J. Loftin maybe about a month ago at the Black Writers on Tour event in Carson, California at the Civic Center. And I actually ran into him again at another event. And for our listeners, we actually did a piece on his book a couple of episodes ago. So I'm really excited to have him here. Thank you so much, Thomas, for joining the show today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Do you go by Thomas or TJ?
TJ is fine.
Okay, TJ, thank you so much. So talk to us. You know, there's a lot going on now in the Inglewood area. There's a lot of things that are shaping up and taking place. And some people don't know if they're able to tap into what's going on, if they can take advantage of what's going on. Tell us about who you are and what you see happening and how that is in alignment with what your book talks about.
Okay, first of all, my name is Thomas T.J. Loftin. I'm the author of Monetizing, Gentrification, Building Black Ownership. And I've been following gentrification for quite a while because my background is I used to have a mortgage broker's license, a real estate license, building land developer, building houses from the ground up, as well as a businessman. So I just been following the market, and I saw what was coming and decided to write a book about it because I realized most people don't know anything about real estate and definitely not about investing or how to spot an investment. So that's why I created all these training classes and presentations and, you know, especially the book so people can get a better understanding of things.
Once someone gets a better understanding of things, as you say, and it's time to apply that knowledge, what can applying that knowledge that they are getting from your book, what can that do for them, or what would show up in their life as a benefit to that?
You know, they'll be able to monetize this situation. Once they read the book, I traveled to 15 states in 2018, and I saw a lot of investments that just absolutely blew my mind, was staggering in thought, and I realized we're at a historical moment. So I logged in all those investments. I took a lot of pictures of these investments that I was seeing that was absolutely blowing my mind because it didn't get too much better than that. I just didn't see investments like this in Los Angeles, California, or Compton, where I'm from. So I decided to take pictures of them and put it in my book, you know, and talk about them under it so others will get the vision and see which way I'm going with it and why they should buy these properties versus having someone tell them something to buy something that makes absolutely no sense. And I also wrote the book based on the fact that there's a lot of things that real estate agents do to people or mortgage companies do to people, selling bad loans and products that will make a person lose their house. So I kind of went in deep in the back of my book discussing those things that you as a customer, you're not privy to. But these are the main reasons that drove the foreclosures back in 2007, the market crash in 2007. If people would have known this, they would have not lost their homes. They would have been able to keep their homes. They would have made more money, just a lot of different things. So I just put it all in the book to identify it. Just like the situation happening at Howard University. I put in my book, I talked about that a year ago. I took pictures. I was at Howard University last April, and I saw gentrification looming down on it, and I wrote about it in my book as well as for the rest of the universities, the HBCUs. I talked about it to let people know what to expect and why did I say that?
Right. So basically, a lot of people who may feel that they may not feel empowered, or they feel like they're stuck between a rock and a hard place when it comes to economic and financial freedom, they actually have the answers to their pain right in their own backyard when it comes to gentrification and monetizing it.
Absolutely. We as a people, we've been raised on disinformation, designed to keep us where we are. Not us, but to keep most people where they are. If information is king, and good information can make you, and bad information can break you. You know, so I put in that book, I put a lot of great information. I also had a chapter where I talked about distractions, you know, that people are being put in front of that's distracting them from where the real money is.
Yep. And it's done totally intentional, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. You got to think about it. You know, we're experiencing our 400th year of what do they say, the reunion of slavery or something like that. Do you honestly believe the people who enslaved you are going to put out a blueprint for you to be like them and live successful?
Right.
No.
Of course not.
You think they're going to create universities and say, hey, go to university and get all this knowledge and you'll be billionaires like we are, like they are? That's not how that works. So you have to expect that. And when you expect it, you know not to believe everything you hear. So you keep digging and looking. If they want me to get a job, I'm going to start a business. If they want me to do something else, I'm going to do something different. You know, so you have to pay attention. So I put a lot of those standards in the book to create a better environment for you and your family, so where you can create, like I said, building Black ownership and create generational wealth and legacies for yourself and your families.
Right. Because you can educate an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is someone in their heart, they want to build, they want to create or make something. But sometimes you don't know what tools, what seeds to plant. And your book is actually giving someone the knowledge and the education so that they can infuse that level of education into their entrepreneurial spirit and then tap in to not having to necessarily work for someone else, or even if you do work for someone else, teaching them how to take that money and invest it in different opportunities within their own community, instead of having them come in and fixing it all up and you taking it and then pushing them further away.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that happens so much. But I mean, it's good that you're taking the time to do this, because at what point when you first sat down, do you remember that first day after saying, you know what, I'm gonna put this information out there, I'm gonna educate these people? What was it like that first day opening up your computer, laptop, notebook, or whatnot, and getting started?
It was very difficult for me, to be honest with you, because the gentrification for me didn't start last year. It started back in 2000, and I believe it was what was it, 1998 or something in that neighborhood. You know, they were shifting the homeless, the people from Watts, California, the projects up to the Antelope Valley, Palmdale. And I saw that, and, you know, I immediately jumped into action and started buying a lot of properties, and I noticed a lot of people wasn't. I'm like, are y'all paying attention to what's going on? And, you know, so I started writing a little bit about it. I actually made a DVD, which I released in 2013. It started off with the DVD, and it really took a lot out of me, because I thought to myself, I said, now, if I tell this stuff, it's going to open a can of worms, because I know a lot of real estate agents, you know, I know a lot of mortgage brokers, and a lot of these people, this is how they make their living off of, this is how they feed their families, even though they're feeding their families by screwing over other people, by putting these bad products out. You know, when I was a mortgage broker, they would send me over, hey, if you sell 10 of these bad loans, we'll give you a convertible 645 BMW. And I know a lot of guys who got that BMW because they were pushing hard to sell those loans. You know, they're buying big, beautiful homes off of these bad loans and these overpriced homes. And so when I went in there and exposed the whole industry, I knew that I was going to lose some friends. I knew that, you know, I was going to be questioned and people were going to start talking about my credibility or something. So I knew that it was going to be a challenge. So that's why it kind of took a while.
Right. Yeah, to break. Yeah.
A while. I had, you know, you got to realize when you give out powerful information like that that's going to, say, hey, your school is not teaching you the things that you're supposed to use to where you can afford to live an everyday normal life in America, hey, you got a lot of people that get offended, so, hey, you guys are raised with disinformation because all you guys got student loans and they're struggling, but yet all my friends are multimillionaires and they're doing great. They don't owe anyone. They own their homes, their houses are paid off, their cars are paid off. They got multiple properties, So
right.
you guys are following the wrong blueprint. So it gets real personal and upset. People get upset with that. So
it's very impactful.
Yeah. And so it took, I realized, I said, okay, if I put this book out, I may not be able to move around the way I would like to. It may not be received. It's going to be appreciated, but it may be offensive to people. But, I got a great, I felt like it was time to come out because now it was, gentrification was really hurting people, really destroying families. So now people were better ready to receive that. So they're out really looking for solutions. It's like, wow, they can't rent anything because their credit's too bad because of the student loans. They can't afford to buy anything because the houses have gotten so expensive and they don't make that kind of money where they can afford to buy a $500,000 house and up. And that price is $500,000 all around the country. Now,
right. They end up on the wrong side of someone else's plan. I hear what you're saying.
And now we have homelessness at an all-time high, so people are more inclined to listen now. People are like, wow, we got some of their colleagues and their fraternity brothers and sisters are homeless now. And they're like, she has a doctorate like her, and that's scary to people. It's real now, so people are desperately out there seeking solutions.
Right. Because I guess the misconception growing up and all the different milestones when it comes to buying property, it's like, oh, it's the American dream. But as you get older and a little bit more wiser, you start to realize, no, it's America's dream, because you can have that home. But like you said, if they put you in a situation where you're going to end up losing your home, then America takes that home back and can sell it to someone else. And it's almost like a setup in a sense.
It really is, and it's unfortunate. Like I said, I see the people in our communities who are profiting from these things. Just like I saw, I called out a loan the other day, the loan, and I said, this is a bad loan. It's a bad product. And I was the keynote speaker at an event, and one of the guys who was hosting the event, he cut me off in the middle of my presentation because I talked about his biggest moneymaker.
What kind of loan is it?
It was called the HERO, HERO loan. And when I started talking about that, he turned out to be a developer, and that was his biggest product that was feeding his family, and he was not going to let that happen, so he shut me.
Wow, so he literally shut you down because he didn't want you to mess up his moneymaker. Cool.
That's how it is, though.
Yeah.
That's how the enemy can come into your community and have people sell you out, because they know that if we let some of the people in the community make money off of this, we won't have to fight the battle. They will. They'll fight it for us, And when they saw the emotion in that guy's eye, and they heard me. I mean, it was very passionate of how I went about explaining. I was touching people's hearts, and they were like, I'm going through that right now. That's exactly what happened to me. And they were feeling it like, oh, my God, let me get 2 copies of this book, Then you're absolutely right. And then I'm just going down the list, and the guy is right there with me. He's cheering me on. And as soon as I got to development part, I was just touching the different stages of gentrification like you've never heard it before. Normally we complain about the problem but never get into the solutions. So when I started going into the solutions and I hit that I went to that one thing in particular, this guy was my biggest cheerleader in the back. But as soon as I start talking about a development side, that was his neighborhood, and I hit that HERO loan, and immediately he turned against me. Immediately. And the room saw that. The whole room saw that, and then it just was a clear message of showing how if we are benefiting from the destruction of our own people, it's okay. It's okay as long as we're making money. I don't mind. They don't mind. Certain people don't mind selling out the community because, hey, them and their family going to be great, but hey, that's on you. You should have read the fine print. You know, you should have learned how to do real estate before you signed up to buy this house or to pull that loan out. You know, that's on you. You know, even though it's like, forget my words. You know, most people don't bother to read the contract because they purely go off of the person who sold it to them. It's like, well, this is my friend. I trust him. He's added on to my house before. He sold me my car. You know, this guy, you know, I know him. And that's what's going on. People are becoming so desperate because of what's going on in society that they're selling everyone out to make a few dollars, you know?
Definitely.
So this guy immediately, I loved it and I appreciated the room because the room saw what happened and how it works. And it was just amazing because the people was like, well, we ain't touching the hero loan anyway. You know?
Right.
Like, we heard what TJ said and you agreed with 99% of the stuff he said until he got to something that where you make money off of.
Right.
So he lost a lot of business that day. He lost some friends.
Wow. Well, obviously then your book has a lot of valuable information that will, you know, take a community and make that community wiser and stronger and basically going to give them the tools. All right. So, okay. Well, can you tell our listeners how they can go about finding your book and your different social media platforms, how they can reach that?
Okay. I'm on at Thomas. All my social media is the same. It's going to be Thomas TJ Loftin. That's Loftin. So you got Facebook, you got Instagram, you have YouTube, and LinkedIn. And also you can go to my website at thomastjloftin.com so that you can pick up the book. Or if you're in California, you want to stop by one of my black bookstores that my friends own that sells the book for me. You can go to Juicy Juice in Carson, Simply Wholesome, Los Angeles, Malik Books, Queen Amina, or Classic One bookstores in Los Angeles, or Shades of Africa, Long Beach, Shades of Africa, Corona. Or if you're in Georgia, you can go to the Shrine of the Black Madonna in Atlanta, Action Cultures in Atlanta, the Book Boutique in Stonecrest, Georgia, or the Listening Tree in Decatur, Georgia. Or if you're in Louisiana, you can go to the Community Book Center in New Orleans.
Wow, you are making sure that this information gets to where it needs to go, and that's pretty much in any and everybody's hands, and especially empowering those who don't realize how much power they actually have access to if they just have the tools and the information. And like you said, information is king. Thank you so much, TJ, for joining the show today. I really appreciate the time you've taken and the education that you've given.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I appreciate what you do.
Thank you so much. All right, guys, we'll be back in just a moment.
She said, trust me and take a little tip.